Hey guys, this is Echo Soundworks, and you're checking out a first look video on ADSR. In this video, we'll be checking out the synth you see on screen, Synthmaster One, which is made by KV331 Audio. They are obviously the makers of Synthmaster. So Synthmaster One is billed as the kind of younger brother to Synthmaster itself, and it's more simplistic, but not in a bad way. It's more user-friendly, it's more intuitive. It's only a one-page synth. There's not tabs of pages. Now, the cool thing about Synthmaster One is that it's a wavetable synth. So KV331 is kind of jumping into that whole wavetable hysteria that was created from Massive and Serum, and now it seems like every developer is making a wavetable synth. But the cool thing about Synthmaster One is to me, it's so similar to Sylenth. If you use Sylenth, this synth immediately makes sense, which is really cool. There's a couple things that you might need to be like kind of play around with to find or to understand, but it's a lot like Sylenth. So I'm going to compare it to Sylenth quite a bit in this video. And imagine if Sylenth had wavetables, how much more powerful Sylenth itself would be. So Synthmaster One seems like it was kind of thinking about that. I mean, even the layout, right? The oscillators up here, your filter, right? Your LFOs and mod envelopes and amp envelopes, the keyboard. I mean, even this glide and vibrato section is so similar to that of Sylenth. So to kick this video off, I'm going to actually play a patch that was made in Synthmaster and Sylenth, and you're going to try to figure out which one is which. Now, the patch is just an 8-voice detuned unison super saw, no effects, no filter. And yeah, you'll be kind of surprised how similar Synthmaster One's unison engine is compared to Sylenth. So let's just dive right in and check this out. So here's the first one. Okay, here's the second one. First one again. All right, so give you a few seconds to kind of make your final guesses on which is which. If you thought the first one was Synthmaster One, you are correct. The second one is, in fact, Sylenth. Now, they sound really similar. There is a difference, and I don't know if the difference is equatable to one's better than the other. That's just a little bit different, but it's very, very similar. Now check this out. We have 8 voices of unison here. On the settings inside of Synthmaster One, I'm on best, best, and best, right? And check out the CPU hit on it. Right, the CPU is really light on Synthmaster One, much like with a synth like Sylenth. So, I mean, Synthmaster One actually is a little bit more robust with how it handles this exact same patch. All right, so we're going to dive into what I think Synthmaster One got right with the oscillators and some of the unique features. I don't want to touch on all of it. I don't want this to be a manual, but just some of the cool features of the synth. First, it's this unison detune curve. You can really change the effect of the prominence of the effect of the detune unison with that curve. That's really nice. Now, second really unique thing about Synthmaster One is it's billed as this wavetable synth, but it also gives you virtual analog waveforms like sine, triangle, square, sawtooth, pulse. It even gives you analog modeled or sampled waveforms, right? Like that's clearly a Moog. We got some Roland synths here. So that's really cool, and that comes kind of straight from the playbook of Synthmaster itself. And then, of course, you get the wavetables. Now, you can actually import your own wavetables into the synth. It's not necessarily drag and drop, like, say, Serum, for instance, but you can drag and drop folders into the proper directory, and then they will show up here. You can see where it says My Waveforms, Echo Soundworks, and here is one. We'll load up Frigid and scan through the different... So that's pretty unique. Now, another really unique feature of this is this algorithm section here. And if I go to a basic waveform, like a sawtooth, and I have it on low pass, it's kind of like if I change this tone, it's like having a low pass filter in the oscillator itself. Now, you also can have these different modes like like a bend mode, which is kind of interesting on a static waveform. So I mean, and there is a visual cue of what's going on. It's not super clear because the waveform display isn't that big, but you can do some really interesting things with this. Okay, so you have bend modes, bend plus, bend minus, bend plus and minus. You have a few different syncs, some others like pulse width modulation, bit crush, and then the spectrums, which are basically just like little filters. All right, so the next really unique feature is the sub-oscillator inside of Synthmaster One, which is kind of crazy. There are two sub-oscillators. So there are two oscillators and two sub-oscillators. Now, with the sub-oscillators, you don't get semitone control. I mean, you don't get, you do get semitone control, but you don't get things like the algorithms or the detune, that sort of stuff. But you can use them as much more than just a standard sub-oscillator, which is really unique. So right now, here's our sound. If I wanted to kind of bring in a sine wave into this, and then we can pitch this down. We'll do an octave, or a couple octaves rather. There's an octave, right? With a semitone, we can easily create a subtone. The real cool thing about this is you get tons of waveforms. You get the basic waveforms, sine, triangle, square, sawtooth, but you also get noises here. So these can act as your noise oscillator as well. Now you also get waveforms too, which is really cool. Now the unique thing about this, taking that a step further, is that your sub modes actually have these 4 different modulation modes: amp modulation, ring modulation, phase modulation, and frequency modulation, better known as FM synthesis. So if you guys are serum users or massive users, if you're a massive user, you would do this down in the modulation oscillator. If you're a serum user, you would load up the warp mode, right? But the cool thing about this is, in Oscillator 1, we could load up frequency modulation, and you can see it happens right here in the chain. It tells you. So if we go back to sub, right, the sub's right there. If we go frequency modulation's right there. Now, if I have the volume of my Oscillator 1 up, we'll go to a sine wave here. Okay. Now, if we turn that down and turn this up, when it's on FM mode, we won't hear anything, right? But if we turn the Oscillator 1 back up itself and then bring this in, now we start to get some of the FM synthesis. So let's go to a sawtooth here. Okay, now let's change it to, let's do a phase modulation. Now, the real cool thing about this is if you go over to sub 2 and oscillator 2, let's turn on oscillator 2 and we'll do a sine wave here. Let's play the sound. So let's turn down the volume of sub 1. So let's turn the octave up on this oscillator 2. And we'll give it a couple voices of unison. We'll give each 5 for this example. Okay, we want this on free, so we don't have as many phase issues. All right, so now what I can do is let's bring back the frequency or the phase modulation in Oscillator 1, sub 1. Now I can go over here and I can do ring mod, I can do phase modulation, we can do frequency modulation, so we can combine FM synthesis and PM synthesis together, which is kind of a unique idea. And amp mod. So you can actually use these kind of independently, which is nice because if you're a serum user, you can only use one instance of this per synth. Same with massive. So you have this option to kind of blend these things together, which is really cool. All right, so another really unique feature of Synthmaster One is you actually have drag and drop modulation. I can't believe I'm still saying this is unique, but a lot of synths struggle to do this and struggle to get it right. You have a mod matrix down here, and you can drag and drop things like LFOs or modulation envelopes onto certain parameters of the synth. I don't know why this isn't a standard on all synths, because some minds like to think linearly. I can't say that word, but some people will like to work in a matrix because it's top down, and then other people will like to, who are more visual, work with drag and drop. So we can very easily have LFO1 modulate the volume of Oscillator 1, and we just drag and drop it on, and then we can change the modulation depth. And then we have our sound, right? It has a dedicated arpeggiator. I don't know why. It's maddening. I'm not a synth developer, but maybe there's a reason why. Maybe some of you guys know, but it's so weird to me that some synths will have a dedicated arp and some synths will have like a stepper function like Massive or Serum, where it's more of a pain in the ass to create an arpeggiated or sequenced section of the sound. It doesn't make sense to me that there's both. Like, you'll notice that with Serum, for instance, there's no dedicated arpeggiator, or with Sylenth, there is a dedicated arpeggiator, just like with Synthmaster One, but there's no like stepper, right? Or you know how Massive has the stepper and the performer, which can do some crazy stuff to sounds. It's like the synths only have one or the other, but Synthmaster does have a cool ARP. I'll load up an ARP patch so you can kind of see here what it does. It's really easy to turn on. There's an on and off toggle up here, right? And then you have different modes, which is really cool. This is so much like Sylenth, it's crazy. But yeah, really easy and intuitive to use. Now, let's talk about the effects as well. And I'll go to initialize preset here. So it looks like you only have 6 effects on the face of it, but you actually have many more. You have, I believe, 11. If you right-click on any of the effects, you'll see that you have distortion, lo-fi, ensemble, phaser, equalizer, vocoder, delay, chorus, tremolo, reverb, and compressor. And to turn any of them on, you just simply click on it and then activate, and when it's turned on, it'll illuminate green to tell you that it's on, even when you're not clicked on to that module. All right, so another really unique feature that I liked is if you go to the settings page, you can see there's background noise, analog hiss, base station hiss, SO1 hiss. That's kind of cool that you can actually have like the hiss or the sound of of these synth units being on, just running through Synthmaster One. That's kind of cool. So it's not necessarily noise. Don't think of it as noise, but it's kind of more of like a vibe thing. So I've been messing around with it with this analog SO1 hiss. It sounds pretty cool. It's pretty hard to actually hear. You have to definitely listen on monitors and kind of play with it yourself. But unique feature for sure inside of Synthmaster One. All right, guys, so my final thoughts on this synth is it's a damn cool synth. And if you have Synthmaster, it's only going to cost you $29 as a cross-grade price point. So I was like, why the hell not? That's pretty cheap for a synth. But yeah, I actually purchased it with my own money. I'm not saying it's cool just because Synthmaster or KV331 sent me a copy of the synth. It is like Sylenth, but you have wavetable synthesis and drag and drop modulation. Enough said. If you guys have any questions or comments, let me know below and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. Like I said at the beginning of the video, I'm Echo Sowers. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I will see you next time.